this reincarnation of Boxer and its relationship with BBC. There's a characterisation that because they've had a couple of difficult moments in terms of, I think the first fight that they put on was Fraser Clarke, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And the staging of it and the whole ambiance looked a bit second-rate.
It was a good fight, though. I enjoyed the fight.
Yeah, I'm not suggesting the fight didn't have its moments. It wasn't the greatest fight. But in terms of the staging of the event and what you're used to seeing, it wasn't at the level that people anticipated it was going to be at. You've now seen the Adam Azim fight pulled off. Is this relationship and this incarnation, we've had Ben on, and we'll listen to him in a second, but is this a bit of a disaster that's happening here, or is it not?
It's not been the best start, if I'm totally honest. You know, if you're looking at it from a production point of view, like I say, I thought the Jamie TKV Fraser Clarke fight was a good fight. Production, when you're looking at it and you're going, it's all about making a statement. It falls into that Zaffa boxing sort of that we saw on Saturday night, which we'll get into. It falls into that sort of bracket. You go, right, this is you're making a statement. You're bringing terrestrial TV back into the mix here. Let's see something. But I think from the production side of things, I go, it didn't really tell me anything that I've never seen before.
Sorry, Johnny. It was. Don't you think he needs time though? He needs time to build his platform.
You've got to make a statement, haven't you?
So the problem. This is where I have a problem. The problem is he was with Sky. Is with BBC. How long are you going to take to get to learn from your experiences and learn from you? We all make mistakes. Eddie made mistakes. Frank made mistakes. They've all made mistakes in the past, and then they've learned from the mistakes.
That's exactly my point.
He was a promoter before he was with Sky, so he learned up to a certain point. Got to Sky. He learned got to a certain point. Now he's with BBC.
Put a pin in it for a second. Listen to Ben Shaloms, and we'll come back round in a circle.
Our job is to put on 50-50 fights. We want to put on big fights, and that means it can go either way. Fraser Clarke, Jamie TKV did 1 million viewers on the BBC, which is no one can even compete with that. No one can even compete. Jamie TKV's just changed his whole life and whole trajectory. Callum Simpson, Troy Williamson did 3 times what they normally get in that slot on the BBC. You've got to look at it where on a Saturday night, what else could be on the BBC? If boxing can beat the typical entertainment shows consistently, that's where boxing is at.
But Ben, you came on the scene as a disruptor, potentially. Is free-to-air really and honestly where you want to be?
Absolutely. And of course that's disruption. This is about putting boxing in mainstream homes, not hidden, not behind paywalls, and no disrespect. What DAZN do in particular have done a phenomenal job, but what we're doing, putting boxing back on the national broadcaster, I don't think any other promoter could do that. I don't think any promoter would do that.
How are you going to pay fighters?
That's my question.
Behind a paywall, that when they get to a certain level, if it's not behind a paywall, because he's going to see Joe Blogs fighting on pay-per-view, getting paid ridiculous money. And so how's BBC going to create a paywall?
Well, aren't they the incubators? Aren't BBC in exchange for a content delivery mechanism which gets boxing shown on the channel? Alex Chelsky gets boxing on BBC that he probably wants, right? Aren't they going to be an incubator which accepts that at different stages boxers are going to move up through the levels? They're no longer going to be prospects. They're going to need to be paid for. And then Ben brings out a pay-per-view model which then facilitates the outcome for those guys. So the BBC potentially get used a little bit to be, but then again, I
They sort of tried that with the ITV though, didn't they? Back in the day, they tried that a few times with ITV, and that didn't work.
So as a business, does that work? So you're giving your platform to build somebody up, knowing he's going to leave you once he's up there.
Well, I guess it's all based upon the exchange of money. If you're not paying huge amounts of money in the first place, what do you expect in return? There's a balancing act, isn't there? I mean, do you like the idea of boxing on terrestrial TV, or do you think that ship has sailed in terms of the way
I'm old enough to remember that's where it was. And then Sky came along and
changed the rules of engagement.
Completely changed the game. So that's where it was. So
I won my first world title on BBC on, I think it was a Wednesday night when it was BBC with Harry Carpenter.
Yeah.
You know, and the audiences, you know, you had like a big audience because it was free to air television. And if Ben Shaloms can recreate that, then he's going to create a whole new audience. He said he got 1 million people watch that fight.
I still can't play for ITV.
I think the big problem that Ben is looking at here is, he's got terrestrial TV, which is brilliant, but the landscape has moved slightly. That more kids now watch, YouTube and online stuff.
Spencer,
So taking that out of it, though, I think the biggest problem Ben has is getting that star and building that
Yeah,
star.
sure.
'Cause that is the thing, because when you have a star or a kid that has star potential in this day and age, right, they want big money straight away. And
Yeah.
is that money there with the deal that Ben has with the BBC? I mean, only he knows that. But I think the biggest problem is holding that kid. He's got him to build him to that level.
The model that he talks to, which is obviously part and parcel of the commercial thinking, Johnny, has to be pay-per-view. Otherwise, he's fighting against everyone else and what they're doing, and he'll be alone in a room, and he won't have the best fighters because they'll go where the money is in the end. Has he got anyone in his camp that suggests that he can start to build out a pay-per-view stable?
So back to the original point, how is he faring? So he's had the experience up to this point. So now he's got to learn from all the mistakes from the experiences to make the most of what he's got.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Callum's just been turned over. There's Lauren Price that's available. There's Adam. And there is 2 big stars thus far. The others have got to come through. And so, and if they walk away,
You've got Adam Azim, haven't you?
Oh, yeah, that's from Adam Lawrence. So if they walk away to get behind that paywall because they think, oh, I want to be there, my guys that are my opponents, people I think I can beat, are getting paid twice as much. There's a possibility they'll walk away. So it's how he's going to conduct that business, and I just don't understand how it will work on the BBC to keep those big.
When you say mistakes, Johnny, I mean, I want you to be indiscreet as you possibly can be. But when you look at Ben, I know him well, you know him well. And I also think the gun was slightly loaded against him with certain people's attitudes in Sky and certain legacies that were left behind by other people. When you say mistakes, what mistakes do you think Ben has made in the relationship and the opportunity and the platform that he had with Sky?
Well, it's something that he can't avoid, was the naivety. He was naive in a lot of situations, and his approach in regards to how he dealt with his fighters, the networks he was working with, which is why I'm assuming the deal with Sky no longer exists. So now he's on with the BBC. 2 shows got cancelled with the BBC before they even put a show on. Why was that? You know, because it wasn't down to the BBC. So something wasn't falling in place. Something wasn't right. Something he'd not fact checked on. So this the naivety of it. But you can't keep being naive to the point where you're not learning anything from your past mistakes.
Yeah, but he would have learnt from that, though, wouldn't he?
He should have learned from that.
Yeah, but he would have learnt from that by now.
Yeah.
And you would expect going forward his next few shows to be absolutely marquee. Even if it is a domestic fight, you know, it's going to be good. You know, Dave Allen against Jamie TKV would be a good fight to put on the BBC.
Do you think he wasted the opportunity, Ben, with Sky? Do you think he was? You do.
I do.
Why?
I think this boy had the keys to the kingdom. I think
Even with Sky's changing attitude.
I think he had the keys to the kingdom. They give this young unknown man to most people in boxing the keys to the kingdom, and so he had an opportunity to make so much of a difference because he wasn't involved in the bad blood with other promoters or whatever. He was like a fresh face coming along. So I think that it's unfortunate that he didn't take...
Do you think they helped him enough? I mean, on the outside, you've got the Saudi phenomenon came along at the same time.
Yeah.
And the Saudis and Frank was in, and Frank was the orchestrator of the Saudi opportunity, and Eddie didn't miss a beat, and he was there. And with due respect to those 2 boys, they did what they should do, which was they didn't make anything easy for Ben.
Because it happened to them.
Well, sure, it did. I'm sure back in the 70s when Frank was trying to punch his way into the division, Mickey Duff and Terry Lawless were making his life very difficult, weren't they? And Jarvis Astaire and whatever else. But do you not think that some of the circumstances that Sky could have possibly been more facilitatory and helpful in a young promoter trying to find his way through, battling against the old guard that are sitting there well established, against a new phenomenon that's coming in? Do you not think that possibly Sky could have been going, right, I tell you what, we're bringing in a bit of these are the mistakes that you're making. These are the judgment calls that we think are poor.
Sky, as far as
or is that not their job?
Sky is a company. Boxing is 2% of Sky's overall platform. So therefore, if they bring you in to say you're the promoter,
you've got to provide problems, not solutions. You've got to provide solutions, not problems.
There you are. So bring it in. Get the job done because we think you've pitched it to say you can do the job. So do the job. So it's not Sky's problem to make it work for you. It's you.
No, I hear that. I agree with you.
Madison Square Garden, January 31st.
He's coming to win. I'm coming to win. So let's make that happen. He's from Brick City. I'm from the concrete jungle.
Madison Square Garden. It's when those paths finally meet.